Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
I've got kids, and that means it's always about them. But I need support too. That's where Ollie comes in, with their delightful, hardworking gummies. My partner and I can actually get a good night's sleep, so we'll both stand a chance of managing our stress responses. Even when the kids are doing parkour in the living room, discover Ollie vitamins and supplements. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hey, it's Mistress Carrie, reporting for duty from MCHQ for episode 2 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by RPM Dynamics. Now, Jim Rose, the owner and CEO, has been a friend of mine for over 20 years. He's the touring front of house engineer for Melissa Etheridge, and he's got over 30 years of experience in the touring and pro audio world. And he gives 110% to everything, including helping to wire MCHQ and make sure it's all running smoothly and labeled impeccably, I might add. Now, RPM Dynamics focuses mostly on the pro audio market, but that doesn't mean that you might need them for something. Like, let's say you're a club or a restaurant that's looking to upgrade the audio system. Or maybe with everything going on, you want to create a new outdoor entertainment space at your business. Well, you're going to need somebody to come in that knows what the hell they are doing and what they're talking about. And that's my buddy Jim at RPM Dynamics. They've been supporting touring acts for the last decade. Serious bands like Breaking Benjamin, Chevelle, and Hell Yeah. Those bands aren't going to call just anybody to sound good, which is why I know Jim can make your space sound fantastic. RPM has become a highly trusted and respected part of the Rolodex belonging to many touring engineers who regularly reach out to RPM for support. That's the number you call when you push the oh shit button, you call Jim. So you can give him a call and see if he can help you too. Call 603-231-8556 or just log on to rpmdynamics.com. This episode is also sponsored by Image Custom Designs. Now, they have been in the rock and roll business right in Worcester for over 20 years. From full-on production to manufacturing of premium custom road cases for the touring industry. So let's say you have a piece of camera or computer or electronic equipment that's really sensitive and you need to move it around a bunch. Well, you don't want it to get broken. That's what they do. They design these custom cases so that your equipment can take a beating. I mean, think about it. There's gear getting pushed around all over the place. Well, back when we had concerts that actually toured. But you know what else they do? They've pivoted their entire operation to make the Northeast's best acrylic sneeze guards. You know those shields that protect all of the cashiers at every gas station and retail outlet that you've been to in the last 3 months? Well, if you need one, if you own a business and you want to protect your cashiers, Image Custom Designs can totally help you out. Give them a call at 508-757-3331 anytime or log on to imagecustomdesigns.com where you can check out their cases and those brand new custom-made acrylic sneeze guards. Okay, now this episode of the podcast I am super excited about because I have not one, but 2 guests. So originally, Corey Taylor from Stone Sour and Slipknot, among other projects. He's an author, he's a recording artist, he's a performer, he's an all-around badass, and total psycho. And I say that with the most love in the world. Originally, he was going to be the guest on episode number 2. Now, episode 1, as I'm sure you've heard, was Brent Smith from Shinedown. Well, as the Shinedown guys do, when one of them gets involved with something, they all want to get involved with something, and that's why Zach Myers from Shinedown, he called as well. So the second episode of the Mistress Carrie podcast, you're getting not 1, but 2. Corey Taylor, and then Zach Myers.
Hey, what's up? This is Sully from Godsmack. Strap on those boots, baby, because you are now in the trenches of the war room with the one and only Mistress Carrie right here on the Mistress Carrie podcast.
What's up? This is Joe Rogan, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Her hair so lovely, pretty eyes.
Hey, this is Brent from Shinedown, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie. Hey, Carrie, go put your bra on, girl.
Hey, this is Steven Tyler, and you be listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
What's up? This is Aaron from Stain, and you're listening to Mistress Carrie.
Hi, everybody. This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, and you're listening to the one, the only Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is David from the band Disturbed, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
This is Marilyn Manson, and you're listening to the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, this is Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You're listening to Mistress Carrie.
This is Dennis Leary. You are listening to my favorite, Mistress Carrie.
Hey, this is Corey from Stone Sour, and you're listening to, you have the privilege of listening to Mistress Carrie. Oh, God. Oh, yeah.
Hello?
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 Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Open the window and yell louder. I have missed you.
Miss you too. God, it's been like a million years.
Yeah, and it's not like anything's happened since the last time I talked to you.
No, not much. No, well, I mean, there were a couple things in the news, but I don't think anybody noticed.
Yeah,
really.
no. And can we just go back to when the world was a little bit more predictable and normal? You were on tour in Europe.
Right. Yes.
And I didn't get to talk to you about WAF going away.
Yeah, and I heard about it last minute. And I was like, what? And like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, when did this happen? Like, I had no clue, no like precursor, no hint. I mean, it just came out of nowhere. And then we were scrambling, trying to figure out when I could call you. And it just vanished. And I was just like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah. We found out the Tuesday after President's Day that the signal had been sold. And so we got Wednesday off the air to kind of recoup because I did my show as normal on that Tuesday.
Right.
And then we went in on Thursday and Friday and literally tried to put together a 2-day tribute to a 50-year legacy rock station and kind of hold it together with duct tape and, a tampon and a stick of Wrigley spearmint gum. And it was like, it's still, even though I know it's been months now, it's still so crazy to me that
of course
it's gone. And before that happened, you got married.
Yeah.
Which I didn't know was going to happen either. And so just those two things would give us plenty of things to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, if in a perfect world, but unfortunately the world isn't perfect.
Yeah. I mean, then there's a global pandemic.
I mean, which I clearly got back into the country by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah,
they were starting to impose everything right when our tour was wrapping up in Europe. And then by the time we got back, we were already having to, because our next leg, ironically, was Southeast Asia. And I mean, all through the islands and everything. And I mean, we were leaving within a month. And I think we may have been one of the first bands to cancel our tour and start canceling legs and stuff. Like, I mean, it was insane.
Isn't it funny that we went from a world where when people started canceling stuff, they were called like hysterical and whatever. And then all of a sudden we woke up one day and literally someone just flipped the switch on the world and everything was gone.
I can't tell you the last time, I can't remember the last time that I went out and just did some shopping. You know, like, I mean, I can't remember the last time I just went out and had like a regular life day, you know, like it's insane. Like everything has, obviously it was worse like 2 months ago, but now like it feels like things are starting to kind of slowly lurch back to a weird normal on that front, which is good, especially for people like me, you know, like that's how I make my living. But at the same time, it's like, I don't even know what this new world is going to look like now, you know?
Well, nobody does. And all right, let's go back to the beginning because there's so much that I want to talk to you about. Okay. So you get married.
Yes.
And your plan was that you were going to reside primarily in Vegas, right? Because that's where you've been kind of living. So, you know, right off the bat, newlyweds, living in Vegas, life crazy, all of that. And you're on tour in Europe and WAF is on the air and the world is a happy place.
Yes.
And then AAF goes off the air and that triggered the end of the world, which has been the joke for all of us. And then,
of course.
And then all the bands come off the road and you had gotten married and your lovely wife, who I have not met yet, but she seems like the most wonderful woman on the planet, which is why you married her. Yes. She thought she was marrying a guy that's never home. And then there's a global pandemic that takes this guy with multiple books and multiple bands and he's never around and makes him home all the time. And now you're quarantined on your honeymoon.
Right.
Are you guys divorced yet or close to divorce? How is that?
We were just talking about that the other day because all we've done is read horror stories of newlyweds and freshly engaged people, like seeing like the lockdown, the quarantine basically destroyed their lives. And I hate to laugh, but I mean, we were reading it and we're just looking at each other going, Jesus Christ. You know, the crazy thing is that it really just reinforced how well she and I are together, man. Like we are fine. We have the same ridiculous sense of humor, which is awesome. You know, we love being around each other. So we're looking around at people going, Jesus, like really? I mean, this is all it took was just being together to ruin your marriage.
It is kind of hilarious when you think about it.
What the hell got you people together in the first place?
Well, the idea that they weren't going to be together 24/7, sequestered during a pandemic.
True that, yeah. But you know what, though? I mean, I can't remember. There was a comedian who was doing a bit about why older couples stayed together longer than newer couples. And the parable was the fact that older couples spent time away from each other because one or both worked. You didn't have cell phones. You saw each other at night. You were able to spend real time together at night because you genuinely missed each other. Nowadays, you're never truly away from the person that you're with because of the technology, because of social media, because of cell phones, because of texting, because of this, because of, find my iPhone, like all these things, you're constantly together. And that, whether people want to admit it or not, can wear on a relationship that is based in very little in common. You know what I'm saying? Like that will show the cracks and the creases in any relationship that isn't based in a real, I don't want to say admiration, but a real adoration, a real just really liking a person, you know? So I think that's the real crux of why a lot of these relationships have fallen apart, is because they were based on certain things that really maybe were a little more flimsy than they were practical, you know? And the thing that me and Alicia realized about each other is that we genuinely love hanging out together. Like, we genuinely love doing things together. We genuinely love being idiots together. And God knows we are. I mean, it's pretty rad, man. Like, you thought I was bad. You should see my wife.
I can't wait to be with you guys together.
Oh, we're the biggest, ridiculous, man. Yeah. So it's honestly this relationship that's taught me a lot about relationships, man. Like, because I always, obviously this is number 3 for me. So it wasn't like I'm a huge expert in how to keep things together, but I know what doesn't work, obviously.
That is what divorce teaches you, isn't it?
What you didn't want. Yeah, exactly. And being a damn near having a degree in that now, I can tell you with safe certainty that is not the case here. So yeah, I mean, we've been, we kind of went on this Amazon tear, not to minimalize what has happened with quarantine or everything. We went on this Amazon tear. She got all of these tools and stuff and just started building things in the house. Like, she couldn't find an outdoor table that she liked for her patio furniture. So she built one. She's a maniac. Like, she's out of control, this one. And I'm like, did you ever done this before? And she's like, no, but this is what I want. And she did it. And that's our outdoor table. Like, she's a crazy person, but this is also a person who has designed and built her entire stage show. She, does almost all the choreography for her group, the Cherry Bombs. Like, she's just, when she wants something and she wants it done right, she does it herself. So, I mean, what did I expect? I married a maniac just like me.
What could possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong?
I want you to tell me what you guys did living in Vegas during a quarantine for the first time in history, having the entire city shut down. Please tell me that you guys drove 100 miles an hour down the strip or something at 3:00 in the morning.
We drove through. I mean, it was a ghost town, man. I mean, we had some friends of ours who were going down onto the strip because we'd never seen it like this. And there was no traffic, no lights. They started taking pictures and doing photo shoots together. And it just looks desolate. I drove through there, and I'm used to, if I ever take Las Vegas Boulevard at any point, I'm guaranteed that once I get to the strip, it's going to be about an hour of just trying to get from bell to bell, basically. And I made it through there in 10 minutes. And I was just like, I better savor the flavor, because this is never going to happen again. I mean, it was crazy. What we did was basically we just sequestered ourselves and figured out a new normal, well, first, I mean, we kind of threw all of our effort, since we couldn't work, we threw a lot of our effort into relief, donating masks, donating money to the various charities and stuff that were, helping with the cause and helping with, obviously with COVID. So we kind of hunkered down on that. Besides that, I mean, and this is something else we'll talk about later. I recorded my first solo album, which I got to get to you at some point. So you can hear
it. You do.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's really, really, really good.
What makes this album something that couldn't be a Stone Sour album or a Slipknot album?
It's fun. And I hate to say it, but both of those bands, can be very, very serious, and it's maybe one a little less than the other, but this is actually because I was trying to answer this question to a lot of a couple of different people, and I was like, they were like, well, what's you write a bunch of the music and a bunch of the songs for both bands. Like what are these songs then? Like if they don't fit with either band, what are they? And like, there's seriously just stuff that I've written over the years that just don't fit with either band and just have a different spirit, like this is much more in tune with the spirit of the solo shows that I do a lot of the times, where it's like, it's big fun. It's huge choruses, just playing covers with friends and stuff. That's what these songs are. Basically just big, boisterous, pump your fist rock. Like it's throwback stuff, but it's a hybrid because there are all these little different elements that I've incorporated to kind of reinvent and reinvigorate, the styles that are going on. It's almost like a futuristic throwback is the way I kind of look at it. It's like adding these weird little elements that modernize something that may feel familiar and vintage, but at the same time, it's just got such a great spirit that people are just really into it.
Could this album have ever happened if it wasn't for the coronavirus? Was it in the plans?
Yeah, I was planning to do this anyway. I was actually planning to do it after the Slipknot run. I was supposed to be all Slipknot this year, and then starting next year, I was going to go in and record the album and then go out on the road. When this happened, I kind of sat for a minute, and then I realized is like, my friends who are in this band, they're all sequestered and quarantining and social distancing. And I was like, look, take 2 weeks. Don't talk to anybody. Don't touch anybody. I contacted people. I was like at the studio that I recorded, and I was like, get me an engineer who can safely social distance for 2 weeks. We'll all get together and we'll do it, and we'll do it the right way. And we did. And it actually was perfect. It was like the perfect time to do it.
I spent my sequestered quarantine time building what I now refer to as MCHQ.
Right. Right.
Which is my new studio, because I like to tell people that I was social distancing and unemployed before it was cool, because I was doing it a couple weeks before everyone else jumped on the bandwagon.
Everybody jumped on the back, as always.
Exactly.
As always.
Trendsetter over here. So,
of course.
I spent, the first week after AAF was gone, I went to Vegas for a rock radio convention, and then I got home and had some job interviews, and then the virus hit, and everything stopped. And I was like a lot of these musicians, okay, what do I do now?
Right.
And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a company, and I'm going to build a studio, and I'm going to launch that podcast that everybody always yelled at me for not having. And I'm just going to do my own thing because, with the vacuum that was created by WAF going off the air, there isn't a rock station now in the Northeast that is going to pick up what AAF put down. And it doesn't look like anyone's going to put one on the air anytime soon, at least from what I'm hearing. So I was like, you know what? Then we need an anchor for this ship. We need a place and a way to keep this community together, and a place for these bands to be able to come and keep in touch with their audience, and a place for people to be able to come and know that they are going to get exposed to new music and keep in touch with the artists that they love. And if we don't have WAF to do it, well, then there's my job. There's my company.
And the great thing about it is now you don't have the shackles that were kind of instilled at AAF, for lack of a better term, because of the corporate structuring. Like now you can actually just kind of do whatever you want.
I could say fuck.
Exactly. Which you say fuck a lot. I don't know if you noticed this. You just don't do it when the mic is on. But now you can do it when the mic is on. What the fuck?
Yeah, I know. It's so liberating, and I know, that people have been saying fuck for a really long time, but for someone that spent 22 years on the air, being kept from being able to say it. You've known me for so long that, we've spent a lot of time off mic together. But people still think it's weird to hear the words like that coming out of my mouth because I wasn't allowed to swear for 22 years. And now I can.
Right. It's like, what? You think she just gave up the fucking cloth? I mean, Jesus Christ. What?
But I also...
Her name is Mistress Carrie. I think she said the F word a couple times.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I can have conversations about whatever it is that I want to talk about. And I really am in kind of control over everything. And so as scary as this is, it's incredibly liberating.
Right.
You know, when we were on the radio, it'd be like, okay, we got to hurry up. I got to play a song. I got to get into commercials. Right. And now it's like, all right, well, let's talk about whatever it is that we want to talk about. And when we're done talking about it, that's when we're done.
Exactly. And then, and that's the way that every good conversation is, especially the ones that we've had. I always felt like our best interviews weren't even on the mic. Like the best conversations that we ever had was like always when it wasn't like recording, because we always had to kind of skirt the way we usually talk to each other. And am I wrong?
No, you're totally right.
It was ridiculous. It was like, why are we even bothering with this? I mean, this is all this radio shit is just getting in the fucking way of a good conversation.
And I had a lot of time when we were digging through the archives and kind of preparing for the last couple days of WAF. A lot of bands, reached out. And one of the things that I always asked, and I didn't have the chance to ask you, was like, what was, your fondest memory, or what are some of the things that you look back on over the years and you go, oh my God, like that right there was a good time? Because people have started digging up old footage of like the first interview I did on Real Rock TV with all 9 of you, original Slipknot lineup. It actually made some really funny YouTube video of bands that, were like gaslighting interviewers. And you're like sticking your fingers up my nose and Sid screaming into the microphone. And
yeah, you definitely earned your bones on that one because we were assholes. I mean, like if nobody was taking you serious before that, they definitely were like, okay, she could put up with some real idiotic, ridiculous stuff. Yeah, we're gonna give her the benefit.
There's like 3 minutes of Corey just yelling butt gravy into the camera. It's like, if she can handle that, she can handle anything.
I still don't know where that came from. I have no idea to this day, like where that came. It was funny. It sounds like something I'd say, but I'm like, where the fuck did butt gravy come from? What the hell am I talking about?
I don't know. And then, now that the world is starting to look past the coronavirus, what does this mean for concerts and how we all loved to spend our time? Because I feel like with everything going on politically, this is music's job, is to kind of create places for different types of people to get together with something in common. And it seems like it's needed now more than ever. And it's hard to do right now because of the virus and getting bands back on the road.
Well, I mean, it sucks because on one side, I feel like I'm shackled because a lot of the promoters won't book anything. They won't book anything that could be looked at as a risk. Plus, state to state, city to city, the regulations are different. You don't know what the hell is going on. And even if you get past all of that, there's no guarantee that anybody's going to show up. It all depends on what concert you're talking about, But at the same time, I look at the protests and I see people who are so passionate about what they believe in that they're willing to put themselves at risk. And it's like, if that's one end of the spectrum, who's to say that the other end of the spectrum is if you put on a show and people are just as passionate about having a good time as they are about protesting something that they absolutely believe in, then I feel like one and the other have to kind of go. At some point, someone's going to have to break to break the lock. You know what I'm saying? I don't know who that's going to be. I don't know what it's going to take. All I know is I'm gagging to play a live show. I'm losing my mind, and I haven't felt like that in a very, very long time. I'm actually trying to find a way to play some solo shows here in town in Vegas. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm trying. So if we can come out of that and be okay, I think we'll be able to move on, you know. But there's so many. It's like red tape, trying to get through red tape, you know. Honestly, it's kind of like what's going on when people talk about reform right now for the police. When you look at it, it's like, we can't do that because we have this collective bargaining agreement with the unions, and then the union could go, well, yeah, but you voted on it. And then there's another, you know, case over here. It's like, well, you don't actually have oversight. So it's almost like a vicious cycle. It's that catch-22, that kind of the unspoken catch-22. It's kind of like that right now when it comes to trying to open things up and get bands back in front of audiences. It's like, if you find a venue that's willing to do it, then you have to find out if the city's actually going to let you do it, if they're going to send somebody down to shut you down. And if that is, then if they don't do it, can you get a promoter that will actually invest in it? Or are they going to, kind of take a hands-off thing? So it's almost like trying to chase the source to find the cure. And I don't know what the right move's going to be right now, but I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to do a million different things right now, but I'm definitely trying to find it.
What is the world going to look like, do you think, this time next year? Or there's so much change, and everyone knows that there needs to be oversight, and there changes need to be made, obviously.
Right. Yeah.
But working in an industry that you work in, like, all I could think of when people say, like, get rid of all the police departments is I think about the night that Dimebag got killed, and that it was a cop that saved the people in that club, and
right.
that stopped it. And so is there a middle ground that can be found and negotiated to be able to, because like the virus, it's not the
right.
same problem in every city and state in the United States.
Right. I think it's going to come down to a city to city, state to state thing. Because if you look at it, I mean, honestly, historically, it's been that way. I mean, San Francisco had a very citizen-based policing system for years. Before the unions even took over. The more I read about, people say defunding, but I don't like that word. It's redistribution. The more I read about the redistribution of funds to, I guess, departments that make more sense and to services that make more sense, because right now, what is happening is absolutely correct. You have an overworked, overtired police force that on paper looks very stressed out and very biased against people of color. I'm not defending or doing anything right now. I'm just laying this out for people. What you have is a recipe for chaos, because someone who is trained for this is being sent to deal with everything, and not necessarily even the thing that they've been trained to do. So emotional issues are going to come into play. Cultural issues are going to come into play. Racial bias is going to come into play. Things are going to and then it's going to become completely out of control, because there's no relief. There's no relief for anyone. So what I see when they talk about redistribution, it actually makes sense. I don't know if it can be done. I don't know if anybody's going to let it be done, but it makes sense by saying that, okay, when it comes to the lesser things, the lower things, the things that deal with mental health, or that deal with quiet misdemeanor crimes, deal with this, deal with that, we send them to, deputized health professionals, essentially, and let them deal with it. The real threats are dealt with by the police force, a certain part of the police force. So you're basically redistributing responsibility to people that make up different divisions of, and I don't even know if you can call it a police force at this point, but you call it health services. And then the police can actually do what they're supposed to do instead of having to handle everything. And then people of color can feel good about the fact that when something happens, people are going to be, first of all, they're going to take them seriously. They don't have to worry about being killed in their home. They don't have to worry about things escalating to a point where, the worst thing on the planet is to have people feel like they can't be safe when they need someone to come and help them. And that's what has happened in the Black community, the Hispanic community, Asian community for years. And for people to ignore that is petulant. It is dripping with privilege. No one is perfect. However, you have to at least try to get it right. You have to do things right. And things have been done wrong for so long. People are tired of it. People are tired of being minimalized. They are tired of being brutalized. They're tired of being victimized. And who's to blame them? No one should feel like that. No one should have to give pause when it comes to calling someone for help, because that help, that very help, may take your life. Something needs to change. I support people on both sides, but I absolutely see that there is an issue and it has to change. So I don't know. I don't know what the right call is. I don't know what the right solution is, but it seems like a lot of people are looking for a solution now. And the protests are going on now longer than they ever have because the people are tired of it. And it's time people listen. Let's put it that way.
Well, I think, you come from a place where, the industry that you work in is so dependent on being able to provide security, not only for the people in the crowd, but for the artists as well, that, the idea of not having security or policing, and then in that same conversation we're having, talking about how do we get 20,000 people in the same room at the same time to go and enjoy music again or whatever. It's like these subjects, the virus and coming back from it, and police reform are very interwoven. And are
more than I think we ever even realized, to be honest.
Yeah, because you can't have the post-corona world without being able to secure it. But how do you secure it in a way where you're moving forward, where that level of security is equal for everyone that needs security?
I mean, the crazy thing is that I've seen both sides from a security standpoint as well. I've seen good security and I've seen horrible security. So again, this is something that would probably come under scrutiny when talking about reform as far as that goes, because I've seen wonderful security who takes care of the crowd, understands that it's a great time and that people are just having fun. No issues, no mortalities, no brutalities, no nothing. The flip side of that is I've seen security teams that are so amped up, they have no training, they have no qualms about hurting a person. I've seen them, they went after a member of our team who had the right credentials, who had all of the right security passes, and they broke his ribs. We're still suing them. This is an absolute true story. And this was a person who was just going down into the pit to make sure that our security team was fine, because our security team was down there. And before he could get to our security team, the local security, who apparently didn't know what the hell they were doing, had brutalized the member of our crew. And this was a high-ranking member of our crew. So there are issues all over the place when you have people who are clearly not trained for what they're supposed to be doing. When they're amped up, aggro, and looking for a reason to exert power, to exert force, anything can happen. And it can happen to anyone. So there are definitely things that need to change.
One of the things that has been incredibly striking, and I think that the heavy metal community has always kind of been a place, the land of misfit toys, where it's where we all went because no one else wanted us. Yeah. And as long as you were a fan of the music, nothing else really mattered. And in a way, the outcasts in this metal community now are kind of the blueprint for how the world should be moving forward. Yeah, no, definitely. It was one of the things that I was promoting the most on the road, because it felt like everybody and their mom was trying to pull us all apart. Like there was, every day it seemed like there was a different reason for us all to be kind of pissed at each other. And nobody was really trying to put a unifying tone out there. And look, I know there are a lot of people who do not like my politics, do not like what I have to say about the president, do not like the way I look at the world. However, that being said, when people are at my show and when people are at, listening to my music and they're a part of our crowd, my only concern is their safety, no matter who they support. My only concern is them walking away feeling like they were a part of something. And that's something that I think is lost, because it used to be that you could have different ideas, ideologically, politically, but it didn't really matter as long as we were all, that conversation could happen. It didn't jump to violence. It didn't jump to racial epithets. It didn't jump to hate. It was just a difference of opinion. And, you believe what you believe. I believe what I believe. That's fine, whatever. But we're still here, Hello? Yeah.
Okay.
I'm being quiet for once in my life, Corey, because I'm trying to listen to what you're saying, and now you think I hung up on you because I'm not saying anything.
No, there was this weird big death boom that just happened in my ear. I was like, what the hell was that?
Yeah, the death boom was Carrie being quiet. The world has come to an end.
Well,
when did we all think that heavy metal was gonna chart the way forward for a kumbaya 21st century? When the hell did that happen?
I don't know.
And never mind the fact that we got confirmation that aliens are real from the Pentagon.
Right.
NASA's talking about a parallel universe where you age backwards. All these other things slipped through the cracks, while everything was happening with the coronavirus. Like, oh yeah, by the way, aliens are real. No big deal. Wear a mask, socially distance, and you'll be fine. Wait, what?
Right. What?
We really are in the upside down world of Stranger Things right now.
Yeah, no, you're not kidding. It's tough to wrap your head around sometimes, but what I've kind of learned and what's helped me is to kind of go, I don't want to say go back to basics, but you kind of revert to like company settings, like you revert to the original settings. And that's me just kind of coming back and, being with my kids, being with my wife, being in my house, just kind of resetting and then going, okay, I can refocus and kind of, figure it out again.
How have you been able to talk to the kids about this as a dad, about everything?
Well, with Griff, it's been easy. I mean, he and I have been talking about it for years. When it comes to the socio-political stuff, he's always been very in tune. He was one of the only white kids that went to school with an I Can't Breathe t-shirt on when he was 12. So this was 6 years ago. That tells you how long this stuff has kind of been building as well. He gets it. He's very empathetic, just as much as I am. He just worries about people and just wants people to be okay. And he can, he's starting to understand the intricacies of the culture as well. So he's looking at things in a different perspective and trying to encourage, people who now are following him because of his band and because of his message and because of, his sexual orientation. They're starting to look to him for, answers and whatnot. And he's been pretty responsible with it. He's still 17, which means he's a maniac, but
can you imagine you having access to the internet in that way and that platform at 17?
Dude, my head would have exploded. I would have been a mess. I mean, I was a mess anyway at 17, man. You add this to it. I'm very, very lucky to have the kids that I have. And my daughter, she gets it. God, I think she gets it even more than most adults do, because to her, there really is no issue. She just wants everybody to have fun. She just wants everybody to play, and that's fine. I mean, for her age, she's 5. That's all I want her to have to worry about, So, but when she asks me questions, I answer them. I'm not brutal about it, but I answer them in a way that a father should be able to talk to his daughter about. And we kind of go on. And then I feel like she retains that. It's tricky, this whole parenting gig. But
and there's no instruction manual for it, and nobody gets it right.
No. But all you can do is just do your best not to get it wrong. Let's put it that way.
Well, I miss you so much. I
miss you too.
I never had a chance to say congratulations on getting married, and
well, thank you.
It's obvious to anyone that's known you in any way, shape, or form how happy you are, and it's nice to see you happy that way.
Thanks.
And
it's.
I know that we were trying to connect when the radio station went off the air, and I know that you were trying really hard to be part of the goodbye, and just know that, we had played some of the in-studio performances that you had done over the years. So even though, we didn't get a chance to kind of talk in the last couple days, that you were very much a part of those last couple of days, and obviously woven into, the fabric of WAF for as long as I was on the air. And so you were part of a history of something that, was really special for a long time. And so, thank you for always being there for that as well. Because I haven't had a chance to talk to you about it.
I know. I mean, it's a real disappointment for me, but at the same time, I'm glad we're getting to talk now. I was very, very stoked to be a part of that history as well, because AAF was one of my favorite stations, man. Anytime we were doing something, I knew that we were always going to have a good time talking to you, talking to everybody else at the station, just having fun because you guys all loved what you did. I still go back to, I think about all the things that we used to do, like that time me, you, Queso, and Josh went to the Guns N' Roses concert. Remember that? And then we went to Dick's Last Resort. Remember that?
Oh, didn't you wear a dick on your head that night?
Yeah, of course I did. I was drunk as hell, and they fucking hated me, dude. They hated me. I was like,
you spent $100 trying to get a lobster out of that lobster claw vending machine.
It's like by that time, it's not even a free lobster dinner. It's like, you're just a jackass,
Yeah, it's almost animal abuse. I don't even think they allow those machines in the restaurants anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they did. No, like it was the claw machine for real animals. Like PETA would have had a fucking field day.
Well, you were talking about those solo shows that you did, those storyteller shows. You told that Guns N' Roses story on stage, and it's up on YouTube. If people go and search for it, you can find it. And you told the story at the Middle East, and you're like, and by the way, the girl that I'm talking about is right there.
Oh, it's so good. That was such a great tour, too. God, it was a fucking good time.
Well, I'm assuming that when the world kind of, tries to get back to somewhat of normal, that you're going to go out and support the solo album, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, once everything kind of gets back to normal, we basically moved everything with Slipknot to next year. So next year, barring any crazy complications, all next year is going to be Slipknot kind of picking it back up and finishing out the tour cycle and really just kind of wrapping that up. But at the same time, if nothing happens this year with Slipknot and things resume, I'm definitely going to do a bunch of solo stuff, like a bunch of solo shows. And the solo album's coming out this year. So it's probably coming out in the next few months.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's going to be really, really good. And I'm really excited about it.
Well, I am so thankful on a personal note. It's one thing when you have a massive legacy rock station at your disposal to be able to get people to call and support what you're doing. And I've learned a lot over the last few months, since AAF has been gone, about starting a thing on my own and charting into the future, because radio is basically showing everybody is that, they're going to do this one thing and that there's no kind of room to expand it. And so the people that want to do the kinds of things that I always wanted to do, I now have to find a different way to do that now. And this is how to do it, is to do it on my own and own the company and run it myself and find my own advertising revenue and do everything in a way that I get to make the decisions. And, if I, want to pack up my stuff and go out on the road with a band and record while I'm out there, or just do whatever, it's like, I feel like this is the kind of stuff that the fans want, the unscripted, not politically correct, like the real stuff. You know what I mean? Like the stuff the conversations you and I would have during commercials in the studio is the real stuff. The stuff that we would have afterwards, hanging out backstage, catching up or whatever. Like, that's the real stuff. And I think people want to hear the real stuff, and you got to have a place that you can do it. And I'm just so grateful that you picked up the phone when I called and said, hey, this is only the second episode and the response has already been greater than I could have ever imagined. And it's no small feat to try and attempt at somehow replacing WAAF in the Northeast.
Right.
And I'm doing my goddamn best to figure it out.
Right. If anybody's going to do it, it's you. And if anybody could do it, it's you.
Well, thank you. That means a lot.
Well,
and
that's why I called.
This community needs to stay together. We're a special community. We are, You know, we're a group of people, like I said before, that has the music in common. And as long as the music's in common, nothing else really matters.
Exactly.
That mutual respect is there, and we don't care what color your skin is. We don't care what you do for a living. We don't care what you look like or what God you worship or what side of the political aisle you stand on. Because when you do go to those shows or you get together, then that's all that matters in that moment, that shared experience. And we need a place to kind of be able to go and have these conversations. And you know, there was a lot of fear on my part that when I started making phone calls, people weren't going to pick up the phone anymore. You know, how could I not think that?
Right. But at the same time, like, just the fact that, you know, people, we all loved you, you know, we all still love you, you know, so I can't speak for everybody else, but anytime you need me, I'm going to be there. And that's, you know, I can safely say that's pretty universal.
Well, that means more than you will ever know, because to be honest, I am more scared now than I've been in my whole life trying to figure all of this out. You know, starting.
Well, you know, if you need any help, all you got to do is ask.
Well, I know, and I appreciate that. And before I let you go, because I know we're super late on time, and you're a busy guy, and I've already taken up too much of your time. I wanted you to know that the name of my company, because specifically you, that when I had to come up with the name of my company to start all of this under, I wanted it to reflect me and be something that only I could do. So the name of my company is Bigfoot First Productions. Because if I was going to take this step into the unknown, I was going to take it with my Bigfoot first. And you were one of the people I was so excited about telling the name of my company because I knew you would love it.
Amazing. Oh my God.
So it's not so Bigfoot, good. One word like Sasquatch. It's Bigfoot First.
Foot first.
Yeah.
I love it.
After my Bigfoot, baby. After my Bigfoot. Corey, thank you so much. Will you please, when you have something that I can listen to of this new solo record, will you send it to me? Because I would love to hear it. And
absolutely. Do you have? Is the same phone number?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you got my digits, baby. You got it.
I got you. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna text you. I'll get it to you so you can hear it.
Yeah, I'm dying to hear it.
It's rough mixes, but they're really fucking you're gonna shit.
If you love it and you're proud of it, then I know I'm going to love it. So that's easy. But yeah, I'm dying to hear it. I want to hear what all of this sequestering was able to produce.
Absolutely right.
Well, hopefully we'll see each other soon. And hopefully, you know, we're going to see each other in a place where the world is a little bit nicer than it was before. That would be really nice.
No joke. Absolutely.
Well, congratulations, newlywed. I'm glad that the coronavirus didn't get you divorced before it even started.
No, she still loves me. I mean, it's pretty dope. The coronavirus hasn't killed our marriage, so.
That's fantastic.
I'm sure it's come close, though.
Yeah, right? Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being guest number 2 on the new Mistress Carrie podcast, Corey Taylor.
Well, thank you very much for having me, Mistress. It's awesome.
You rule. See, now originally that was going to be the end of the episode. And then Zach Myers from Shinedown called.
Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
It's going okay. How are you doing?
Well, good. Just dadding.
You're dadding?
Yeah, just dadding today.
Well, before I start peppering you with questions, be honest. Are you calling me today because you miss me, or are you calling me today because you're jealous that Brent was already on the podcast? Be honest.
Well, I thought I was coming on first, so technically a little bit of both, I guess. I thought I was more special, but that's fine.
Listen, I love you all the same. You're like kids. I can't have a favorite.
That's not true. I have kids and I have a favorite. Not true.
How has it been being locked in the house with the little ones? Because you've been doing a lot of dadding.
I mean, it's, you know me. I'm I love dadding, so it's kind of great. I've honestly really enjoyed it. It's been really nice to, we've never, other than the gap between Amaryllis and Threat, we took 19 months off without playing shows, and we're still writing and recording, but this is like the longest time I've had where like really nothing's on the schedule, and it's really nice for me because as much as I enjoy touring, I also enjoy being home. It's kind of equal to each other. So, there's definitely 4 different personalities in this band of how we approach things and how we do things. But for me, like, being home with the kids is very important to me. And, I feel like I'm seeing things in my youngest life that I had to miss with my oldest one who just turned 4, and my youngest turns 2 on Saturday. And I feel like I'm getting to catch some things growth wise that are cool. So no, I'm honestly I'm really enjoying it. I'm not complaining right now. There's definitely days where I wake up and I'm like, oh, I wish I was playing the show today. But I'm loving being home.
Are you going to do one of those birthday parades for them this weekend that everybody's been doing since they've had to social distance?
You know what? I didn't even know that was a thing until it was Oliver's birthday on March 14th, and all his friends did it for him. And I thought that was really cool. We were actually out back in the backyard by the pool, and he was like looking for frogs and stuff. And next thing you know, I hear all these horns honking. So we got to like run around. And we live on like 4.5 acres. So that's a lot of like running around to get to the front of the house. And so like all they had all kind of lined up and like did this big parade thing. It was really cool. I didn't know that was a thing, but that was still, I guess March was still a little early in this thing but yeah, so now we've done it 3 times for other people, but we'll actually be on vacation with all of his friends on Saturday when his birthday is. So he'll get to have like an actual like birthday thing with like all him and Ollie's buddies. We're doing like a big family vacation where all the families are going together, which sounds like I'm going to need Xanax, which I've never taken, but there's a first time for everything.
I was going to say, like, how does one prepare for a giant family vacation? That sounds like you might want to just go back in a tour bus with the Shinedown guys.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like that. It's basically, so I'm in another project called Alan McMyers More, which is like this acoustic kind of the band meets the Eagles kind of feel. And
wait, what's it called again?
It's called Alan McMyers and More. It's like acoustic folk, kind of like 4-part harmony. It's almost like the Eagles meets the band, kind of like what it feels like.
Very old school.
And, yeah, so it's all of us, husbands and wives with all of our kids. So I think we said there's 6 couples going. And then there's at least 12 kids.
Do any of those couples not have kids?
Funny enough, one of them aren't married. They're engaged and they have kids. And this is good. I feel like this will be the best birth control ever made because it's going to be that couple is going to, I feel very bad for them already.
I was going to say, like, that's how you know they really like you. If they're willing to go on vacation with everyone else and all their kids.
And all their kids, yeah. I think, but they'll get to like go out to dinner and stuff. We won't get to do any of that. We'll be making dinner or going to get dinner. And, I don't think you walk in with a party of, whatever, it's going to be 20 something to a restaurant. That doesn't seem like a fun idea.
No, not right now. Especially when people have been waiting months to actually go to a restaurant and then they get seated next to the 20 of you guys with all the kids. Oh my God.
Oh no.
Be like, just quarantine me again.
Yeah, please just lock me up in the house again. I'd rather miss sports and yeah.
Well, I'm hoping that a couple of these new traditions stick around after the coronavirus is gone. The birthday parades, I think, is really cool. And I'm so glad that drive-in movies are back.
Yeah, and Garth Brooks just did a thing where I just saw where he's doing like a one night only. His team actually just sent me a picture of him filming the concert. And he's doing like a one night drive-in thing, which I think would be cool. I've always liked drive-in.
Me too, and it made me sad that they all started getting closed.
Yeah, we still have one in Memphis. I think we only have one. I'm not sure if we have a second one, but we have one in Memphis. It's not in the most savory of areas anymore, but it's when I was a kid, like, we would always go to the drive-in. It was awesome.
Like, I remember seeing, like, the Karate Kid at the drive-ins, and it was like, or they showed all 3 of the original Star Wars back to back, and it was just like, yes!
Yeah, I missed the drive-in. I had a lot of fun. I can't remember of any, I don't recall any specific movies I saw, but I remember, I mean, I probably went 30, 40 times as a kid. I remember, like, you know, until I was probably about, we'll say probably like 13 or 14 is when I kind of stopped frequenting the drive-in movies.
Well, yeah, because you didn't want to go with your parents and you weren't old enough to drive.
Yeah, that's true. Well, what would happen is you know, when you're like 13, you have a friend. Usually you have at least one friend who's like 16. So we would go to the movies, and then, you know, yeah, by the time you're 13, you don't want to go to the movies with your parents anymore.
Yeah, no, not at all. So how did you hold up during everything with just like mentally? Like, I talked to Brent and he was talking about how you guys were in California working on Smith & Myers. He didn't give me a lot of details on the album other than he had a few songs left when everything went down and that it's a double album. Do you have any more details on the record you want to give me?
The album is now done. It's now 20 songs. It's in the mastering phase. I just got the first masters back yesterday. It sounds awesome. I'm excited about it. It's completely done now. Like, I think after me and you get off, I gotta listen to some mixes for some of the covers that we did, and then make some notes, and then those will get sent back to Dave Bassett today, and then he'll make some tweaks, and then those will probably get mastered too. So I mean, I think by Monday we'll have a finished in the can 20-song double Smith & Myers album.
I asked Corey Taylor this same question because he's another musician that kind of juggles a lot of different projects. What makes this Smith & Myers double album not a Shinedown double album?
I mean, the writing is different completely, you know. It's an acoustic based record, you know. There's no drums, there's no bass on it. It's literally just Brent and I. And this record, it's weird, you know. The first record that we made was a radio thing, you know. The label and radio stations wanted to do a contest where me and Brent the fans would pick 10 songs and we go cover them. Well, we did that, and most of the things that we did are like, I think a lot of people don't know this, but like, I think 5 of the songs were one take. You know, literally, like, and there's a video of everything, right? So if you go on YouTube and you watch In the Air Tonight, well, you're watching that video is us recording the song that you hear on the record. Like that, it was one take. And that's why he In the Air Tonight's cool, because he kind of forgot how the verses went. So he kind of did his own thing, and that's literally the take that's on the record. So I think 5 of the songs on volume 1 and 2 were one take, and then 3 were 2 takes, and then 2 were 3 takes. And it was a lot of fun. But when we, you know my singer very well, and you've known him for just as long as I have, and he likes to sometimes say things just so he likes to wish things into fruition, if I can say that.
Is that called the presumptive close in business, where you just kind of say it and then it puts the other people in the position where now they have to make it happen and agree to it?
That's kind of what Brent Smith is really good at. And so we weren't going to tour Smith & Myers in 2018. And so, or maybe 19, yeah. And so 19. January of 19, we were like, we have done so much Shinedown touring, and he wanted to do a Smith & Myers tour. And I was like, I can't do a tour this year. I was like, but I'll do a couple shows. So we booked 2 shows at Starland Ballroom in New Jersey. They both sold out within a day. And we go on stage, and Brent Smith, being the Brent Smith that we all know and love, I'm going to will this into happening I'm just going to say it in front of people. So then I have to do it. It's almost like holding himself accountable. Like, if I say this in front of people, it's going to end up on some website, and it's going to be on the news, and I got to do it. So,
well, he does that in his personal life too. That's why he's doing, all those social media videos of him working out. Because if he
100%,
if he doesn't do it that way, then he can't hold himself accountable, and he'll just lay on the couch and eat Fritos.
100%, and that's what he does. Like I remember one time he did an interview saying like all the songs after, I think it was after Amarillo, maybe for Threat. He was like, yeah, we have the whole record done. And we had like written one song. I was like, what? But that interview was kind of taken out of context because I remember kind of him being like, I think he was telling the people in the interview, like, we have enough material left over from the last record to make a record. And I think they just took it the wrong way. So anyway, we're in Starland Ballroom. It's 2 sold-out nights. We kind of vamp between songs. I'll just kind of strum in the background. He'll talk about whatever the next song is or whatever. And Smith and Myers is 50-50. We both talk a lot on stage. Like it's kind of like a half stand-up comedy show, half musical show. So I'm kind of vamping, and all of a sudden, when he does this, you can like, it's like, like when you're a really drunk friend, he's about to say something in public, and you're like, please don't do this. Like, like a look comes over his face, and you're like, Jeff, hey, Jeff, please don't do this. And like, so I'm like vamping on a song, and I hear him be like, we know a lot of people are asking if we're ever going to make a new Smith and Myers record, and I'm like, oh God, no, don't do this. And then so he's like, I just want to let you guys know that we're going to make a double record. By the way, this is the first I'm hearing about this. So there's a video of it on YouTube. So if you watch me, I kind of do like the Otis Day and the Nights, like an Animal House, where I just kind of like stop playing. and kind of like look over at him. I'm like, what the hell are we doing now? And just like, it just is this hilarious thing where he just like, I'm like, oh, here he goes again. He's wishing this into happening. And then next thing you know, we ask fans what new covers they want. We do that. And we go in the studio, and we were kind of going to revisit some Shinedown stuff along the lines of Atlas Falls, that didn't make it to records. There's a lot of good songs that have been written that haven't made it to records. And well, let's revisit this, and let's, maybe see what happens, and we can maybe adjust some things. And that's not what happened. We went in and we wrote 10 songs in 10 days and recorded them. So we went in basically blank sheet of paper, wrote the song and recorded it all the same day. And we wrote 10 brand new songs that are really good. So it's definitely different than a Shinedown record. Sorry, I gave you a very Brent Smith answer there where I kind of went around about. I heard you guys did like 2 hours on here.
No, it wasn't that long. We talked for like an hour, I think.
I will never hold you that long.
Oh, stop. I love you guys.
I try to give answers but no, it's very different. It's, we're not a political band, and we'll never be a political band, but there's definitely some social commentary, on this record, it doesn't have anything to do with politics, but it's, I love it. I don't know if I've ever been more proud of I'm not gonna say the record, but the artistic work that we got done. We had a very creative, month up there working on this record, and it was fast and kind of it worked really well. And I don't know creatively if I've ever been more proud of something that I've done, just because the way it came together was very unique and very cool and very fast. But usually when you write songs fast, those are not necessarily the best ones, and sometimes they are. But I'm very proud of the songs that we did on this, and we were all in a very creative space, and I'm excited for people to hear it.
Well, you and I have known each other a long time, and we've joked about it many times how envious I am of those that have musical and creative abilities, because I don't have them. And so I surround myself with people that do have them, so many of them. And what I find interesting with you guys' creative process is that you can schedule time, fly to a place, sit down in front of a blank piece of paper, and create it out of nothing, and do it when you're quote unquote on the clock. That you're not just like, you didn't bring any of these ideas with you from home. It was just you guys sat down in a room. We're like, we're writing 10 songs in 10 days. Let's go. Because I can't imagine doing that.
I mean, like I had like some, like, for the original stuff, I had like some bits and pieces. There were no melodies or lyrics at all written. I had a couple little things. Almost said a song title, and I can't do it.
You can. It'll be great for the podcast. It'll hit the news, and yeah.
There's a song that I kind of had. There's a couple songs that I just had like a riff for or a piano part. and we come in and we kind of tweak that and work on it. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, it was, all right, what are we working on today? And we kind of like, Brent or I would throw out a vibe, or even Dave would be like, what if we did something like this? And, like, it was kind of cool to have that, you know what I mean? Like, and so, like I said, I don't know if I've ever been that creative in that amount of time before. Like it was a really creative workspace that we were in, all of us. And it was everything was firing on all cylinders, and we got a lot done in a little amount of time, doing 20 songs. And you got to think, and I think that, I don't know if Brent's touched on it yet, but it wasn't like we went in and just were like, hey, we're going to play this cover because a fan asked for it, and we just played it to the letter. There's some covers on here that I think are going to blow people away because you see the song title and you're like, oh, this is what it is. And then you listen to the song, you're like, oh, no, this is not what they did at all. We completely changed up some of the covers, and some of them we kind of did to the letter, but acoustic, obviously. But there's some that we completely flipped on their heads that are really cool. So I'm really excited for people to hear it and get their feedback, and maybe not get their feedback, but I'm really excited for people to hear it.
Well, you know what a huge fan of cover songs that I am. Obviously, I mean,
obviously
it goes all the way
cover
back.
Song started with you. Started with you. There were no cover songs until you.
I'm sorry if it's a burden you're going to have to carry now.
No,
but you guys are so damn good at them that maybe if you sucked a little more, you wouldn't do them anymore.
It's funny, Brent. 6 records in, working on the 7th record now, he remembers the words to our songs. He still doesn't have notes. He still doesn't have a teleprompter, nothing like that. But he, if he didn't write the song, he has no idea of the words to it. It doesn't matter if we've recorded it or not. Like, Simple Man, obviously, because it's a staple, right? But any of the Smith and Meyer stuff, like he has these huge, like, laminated lyric sheets for Smith and Meyer shows, because he doesn't, like, if he didn't write it, he doesn't remember it. So it's funny, like, that the Simple Man thing got so big, and now we do the Smith and Myers thing, which is, it started out as a cover thing, just as a radio contest. But if he didn't write it, it's tough for him to remember the words. And I'm like polar opposite, right? Like, I know all the words to every song ever off the top of my head. It's really weird.
I remember when he was in the studio when I was trying to talk him into doing Simple Man. I remember his fear was that he would forget the lyrics, or that he wouldn't do the song justice, and obviously insult the Van Zant family that meant so much to him. And so I wonder if it's like this weird mental block where he's just so afraid to screw the lyrics up to someone else's song. Like that fear when you're about to perform the national anthem and you're like, please don't let me screw up. Please don't let me screw up. Please don't let me screw up.
Yeah, I'll never do the national anthem again. I've already done it once. You're right. It's the most horrifying thing ever. I think that he, I don't know what it's probably a combination of all those things. I think that he doesn't want to, you never want to have egg on your face in front of people, right? So it's like, I understand where it's coming from. It's weird for me. Like, all my friends know me as, like, if I hear a song and I like it, after 3 listens, I know every word. It's very strange. But me and Eric Bass kind of had that dynamic. Eric Bass is the person that hears something on the radio. It could be anything. It'd be a Rush song, and we'll show up at rehearsal, he'll start playing it. Dude, that's not what happens to me. Like, I got to go over it 15, 20 times, to the point where I'll get on Eric's notes and you're like, how do you play this again? And then, but the difference is when I have it, I have it. Now, Eric will be playing a song like If You Only Knew that we played 1,000,000 times, and he's played it perfect 30 nights in a row. And then one night, just like, it's like you've never handed him a bass before, right? Like, he does that. And he'll, like, and our joke is, we'll literally, like, our joke, and I'll miss, like, if I miss a note or Barry misses something or Brett misses something, our joke is we'll look back at the lighting rig and look at our monitor guy and, like, point to a light and be like, oh, it's that one right there. That's the one that messed up. We'll look at it and, like, yeah, something happened. Like, it shined in our eyes and we couldn't see. So we have, like, a bunch of inside jokes. But now the difference with me is I'll have to sit by Eric and learn something for a whole day, right? Like, I'll have to be like, hey, show me this again, to the point where he's like, I've already shown it to you 20 times. And I'm like, yeah, I know, just show it to me again. But then once I got it. So like it's good to have those different dynamics in a band, right? But like with Brent, when it comes to lyrics, again, if he didn't write it, and sometimes even if he did, 7 albums in and working on album 7 now, like you never know what's going to happen. Like sometimes we call it popcorn, to where he'll forget a lyric. And one night, I think it was Eric that brought that up, but one night we were singing something and like it might have been Simple Man, and he forgot the words, and it sounded like he said something like popcorn. So now anytime he misses a lyric, we call it popcorn, and we'll act like we're eating popcorn. Like in the middle of the show, we'll just look at him. So yeah, it's pretty funny. It's weird to watch him do covers, because even a song like Sitting on the Dock of Bay, one of his favorite songs of all time, you never know if he's going to remember the words or not.
There are going to be Shinedown fans listening to this interview that are going to start combing over YouTube videos of your live performances, because they're going to want to see you guys pointing to the lights and stuff when you guys screw up now. You let the cat out of the bag.
There's a ton. Yeah, there was one night. Speaking of, like, Eric always makes fun of himself because, like, again, he'll mess up stuff that he's known forever. One night, I think this was in 2013, on the we were on tour with Kiss in Canada, and we had ducked into they had like 3 days off in a row. So we'll duck in and play a couple shows in the U.S. So we play a show in Minnesota, somewhere in Minnesota, near like a casino or something. And speaking of me, like once I get something, I got something that's in my head, I try to play it right every night. And we were doing Crow and the Butterfly, and for some reason I got like sports head. Where like these athletes, like I saw a quote the other day that says, if you start thinking about what's wrong with your or why you're not good at baseball that day, you're gonna have 10 more games like that. Like, I kind of call it sports head, right? So for some reason I was in my head earlier in the night, and then we went to go play Crow and the Butterfly, and it was like I had the solo, and it was like I had never even seen a guitar.
It's like literally that dream where you're making a speech naked.
You handed me a foreign object that I had never touched in my life, and we're like, here, play the solo to Stairway to Heaven. And it's like I just literally forgot how to play guitar for like 45 seconds. It was like the weirdest thing ever. So
the glitch in the Matrix.
I think people get in their head though, like I don't really get in my head about it. Like me and Eric always talk about it. If I think about what I'm doing on stage, or even before we go on stage in like an arena or an amphitheater full of people, if I think about what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have a really bad show. You kind of just put it in autopilot, and then that's where you get to have fun with the crowd and put on a good show, because I'm not thinking about what I'm playing or even worrying about it, because I got it down, because I'm a professional, damn it. And so you try to tell yourself that every night. You're like, I'm a professional. I know what I'm doing. And then you go up there and you try to act like that. And that's when the fun starts, when you can really not think about what you're doing. And, the four of us have a really good time with that.
Can I just tell you that I can tell you've been home for a while, because your accent is thicker than I have ever heard it.
Oh man, it's so bad. I know. And I was just in Nashville yesterday too. So it's really bad. Listen, when I get around Southern, I can blend in with anybody, right? If I'm in California, I can kind of mesh. If I'm in New York, I can kind of mesh. If I'm in Boston, I can kind of mesh.
I don't know about that.
What I'm saying is I can not sound Southern, right?
Yeah.
If you get me around other Southern people, listen, if I'm hanging out with Blackstone Cherry or Three Doors Down, I sound like Jed Clampett. You know what I mean? I sound like I'm in the Beverly Hillbillies. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, cause like, Kentucky boys, Mississippi boys, like I get around them and I'm like, hey, what y'all doing? Y'all want to go down to the creek and catch some fish? Cause listen, I'm a Southern guy, right? I was born and raised in Tennessee. I still live here. I'm staring at a lake right now that I will be fishing on as soon as we get off it. So it's like,
you can fish now if you want. Just let me know how you're doing.
No. I get bad phone service on the dock, so I can't fish. But yeah, I'm a Southern boy. So yeah, my accent, when I get home, my accent comes out pretty thick. My sons both sound very Southern too, which is my wife hates, because she's a Northerner. So she hates the inflections that they say.
Well, she's living down there, so it's only a matter of time.
Very true.
Before that accent comes out.
Oh yeah, the kids already have it. So
Speaking of Three Doors Down, seriously, you know, we spent so much time when the radio station was getting ready to go off the air talking about all the different bands over the years. And they were one of those bands that everybody kept talking about. Are there nicer people? Is there a nicer band in rock and roll than Three Doors Down? I don't think so.
band? No, probably not.
I mean,
honestly,
they're just so
the
nice.
nicest people. Yeah, well, yeah. Listen, it's not. You know, you gotta. I hate this day and age. You gotta be careful with anything you say. Where we come from, you know, we're Southerners, and that's you kind of got to be that. You know what I mean? Like you like. Well, listen, every Southern man, right, has a fear of you being mean to someone and your grandmother coming back from either the dead or wherever she is and smacking you as hard as she can on the back of your head. Like it's just like, you know, if you don't open the door for someone, if you don't say yes ma'am to a woman, if you don't hold the door for women, if you don't open the door for women, you know, like, you know, if you wear a hat at the dinner table, you know, like for me, like I just grew up in this way, you know what I mean? That's like, listen, you know, don't treat anyone less than you and be nice to people. That's literally, if you break it down and you put all the subcategories into that, that's really all it's about. Don't treat anyone less than you and be nice to everybody. You know when it's not time to be nice to someone. You know, if someone's being disparaging or if they're being, you know, a racist or a bigot to someone else, you know to stand up for yourself and you don't have to be nice to that person. But, you know, listen, if you take all the subcategories and you just put them in that, don't treat anyone less than you, be nice to everybody. Really, I mean, what two better rules to live by? You know, that's how I was raised. And I think, you know, if you're nice to people, that I think most of the time they'll return it back. So
I call that flipping the bitch switch. When all of a sudden somebody brings that out in you and you're like, okay, man, you want to be an asshole? Here we go.
Yep, I feel you 100%.
Well, you're talking about having to be careful in this day and age about, you know, what you're talking about and what you say. And, you know, to go back to, you know, when you finished up your part of the Smith and Myers record and you got to go home and then the world got crazy. First with the coronavirus and now the aftermath of, you know, the whole George Floyd murder and I mean just everything that has happened since then. How are you, you know, as a father, as an artist, how are you processing all of the changes that are going on right now?
I mean, it's scary, you know, as a father because, you know, how I was raised was, you know, it doesn't matter what someone's look like. Are they a nice person? You know, I grew up in two places. I grew up my mom lived in Bartlett. My dad lived in a place called Nutbush, where I was like literally me and my friend Brandon were the only two white people there. And we didn't know we were the only white people there. You know why? Because we didn't give a shit. You know what I mean? And so that's just how I grew up. You know, I grew up, wasn't, you know, oh, I have a black friend. No, man, all my friends were black. You know what I mean? So it was like, I just grew up in this way of like both my grandmothers always told me, like I told you, never treat anyone less than you. Always be nice to people, right? So when you have kids, you know, there's a great Dennis Leary quote where he says, you know, racism, you're not born with racism, it's taught. He goes, I have a 3-year-old, you know what he hates? Naps. End of list. And it's like the most true thing. You know, I told somebody that the other day, I go, listen, I said, you know, kids are taught to hate things. You know, the only two things my kids naturally hate are mashed potatoes and going to sleep. You know what I mean? And it's weird because I'm a Southerner, right? So
how can they hate mashed potatoes?
I don't know. Both of them, neither of them like them. It's very crazy. So it's you know, when I, you know, I've always, you know, anybody who knows me, I'm very involved with the National Civil Rights Museum here in Memphis. I've marched with them. I've done all these things, and I, you know, the whole history of where Martin Luther King is a lifelong hero of mine, always has been, and it's pretty out there. You know, if you search me and search Zach Martin Luther King, there's a lot of things out there. And I brought my son to every Martin Luther King Day since he's been born in Memphis, which is a great idea. But we're getting to this dangerous place where it's like, listen, you got to call out people for what they did. Like, those cops were bad cops, right? Like, and it's so weird, right? Because it's not, people think that when you talk about this, it's political. No, this is not political. This is right and wrong. You know me, I support, and I know you, and that you're one of the biggest supporters of the military that I know who isn't in the military or never has been in the military. And, our band is too, right? We've gone to all these places and played. We've gone to, war-torn countries and played shows, right? But none of this is what happening now is political. This is right and wrong. This is, what? People are being treated unfairly and unjustly. And yes, all people, I said this analogy the other day, and people, when you say Black Lives Matter, and somebody goes, well, all lives matter. I'm like, yeah, all lives do matter. But I said, listen, when you go to, when a neighborhood's on fire and they go in a house is on fire in a neighborhood, and you go to the neighborhood and you put out the house fire, the firemen don't spray down all the houses. And of course, every house in the neighborhood matters, but only one house is on fire. And to me, that's kind of where we are right now. And it's like, you watch this senseless stuff happen, people are like, and you got all these people coming out and being like, well, he had a criminal history. He had a criminal history. I'm like, well, listen, maybe he did, but that cop didn't know that. And, I have 5 family members who are police officers, and they're good police officers, and they call out bad cops. And I think that's where we're at now, where people are just getting upset. I think that the good cops aren't calling out the bad cops, and that has to happen. I know that there's a brotherhood among them, but I'll never understand because I've never had to do such a dangerous job in my life. As dangerous as I get is like taking out the trash at night down the driveway on 4 acres, and there might be a snake. That's the dangerousness of what I have to do.
And this isn't going to be like a light switch thing, like you're talking about whether or not the officer knew he had a criminal history. Well, I read an article about a manager of a club where he says they both worked there and that they may have known each other. And then 2 of the officers had only been on the job for a week, and that officer was their training officer. So were they in a position to question what he was doing? And I mean, this whole thing is just so, it challenges the soul of the country.
Because it does. And, listen, like I said, we got to stop making this political. This isn't a left or right thing. This is a right and wrong thing. This guy shouldn't have been killed, period. And definitely the people chosen to protect and serve him shouldn't have been the one who killed him. And it's just a bad thing. And like you said, yeah, there's 2 rookie cops there, but to me, there's still a social standpoint, man, where you got to go, hey, man, you should probably stop doing this. You know what I mean? Especially when, it's sad, man, because it makes me think, how much stuff is not being videoed that happens, right? And it's like, these people want change. And I said it the other day too. I go, listen, I said, people who want change don't want to watch the world burn. I think that there's people rioting and looting that have nothing to do with trying to get their rights.
No, they want to watch the world burn. They welcome the anarchy.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the people who want change aren't the people who want to watch the world burn. I think people who want to watch the world burn want to watch the world burn, and they're using all these people who are peacefully protesting for change, and they're muddying their waters. And I don't like that. I think, listen, we've had every protest in Memphis was peaceful. In Memphis, Tennessee, I live in a city where it sometimes is very segregated. Some of the birth of civil rights started here. So it really, to me, to see everyone here peacefully protesting, no rioting, it's amazing to see. But these people were upset, but I think that people rioting, aren't necessarily the same people who are wanting change. And I think it's, I think that people protesting, you watch them, they're peacefully protesting. They're doing their job. Look at Los Angeles, man. What a beautiful scene of these people protesting this and doing a great job of it and keeping it, peaceful. And that's what they want. They want peace for themselves. And I understand that. So it's just a weird time, but like you said, it's hard to explain to a kid, right, why this is happening, because I'm not going to say Black people in front of my kids. I'm going to say people are human beings, so it's, it's just a strange. It's a strange. It's tough with young kids to try to explain this. Luckily, my 2-year-old's not asking any questions. He just wants pizza. So it's weird that to explain to a 4-year-old who loves everybody. He doesn't know that someone's black or Hispanic or Asian, or he doesn't know, and he doesn't care, and he shouldn't care. I don't care. Listen, I don't get anxiety if I see anybody at night. Like if I see a group of people, it doesn't change what color skin they are to me. You know what I mean? Like I expect the best in people, and I wish the best in people. I know we're not in the day and age for that, but it's just how I've always chosen to live my life. So I just want, I hope this brings upon the change that everybody needs and wants. And it just bums me out that, you have people who are, will sit there and say like, well, you're going to lose fans. It's like, listen, I'm not standing up for politics. I'm never going to tell anybody my politics because no one's going to understand it. But at the same time, I'm just standing up for right and wrong. So when people are like, oh, you'll lose fans, I'm like, listen, if you lose fans over right and wrong, to me, that's one of the most ridiculous things you've ever heard. And you also get this platform of people being like, shut up and sing. And you're like, listen, man, just because I do what I do and you work at whatever, if you're an insurance salesman, like, oh, you get an opinion and I don't, that bothers me. And then also, like, listen, Eddie Vedder says a million things that I disagree with politically. But listen, 10 is still one of the greatest rock albums of all time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what he says. I'm not going to listen to what he says and be like, I don't like this band anymore. It's literally one of the stupidest things I've ever heard of. So where if you disagree with someone, you can't like what they do anymore. Like, listen, if they're being a racist or just a complete incompetent moron, all right, I understand it. But at the same time, like, if you have an opinion and someone goes, I don't like your music anymore because of your opinion, that's so stupid to me. Like, I'll never understand that. There's tons of people musically or comedian wise I disagree with, but I still like them because I like their point of views and I like their music. So, we live in we're at this dangerous place right now where people don't want your opinion. They want their opinion coming out of your mouth.
Which is the most un-American thing.
Yeah, right.
And you're claiming to be patriotic, but it is literally the most un-American thing to force your opinion on someone else.
100%. And there's, you see these people now that, to them, they get upset that freedom of speech isn't a one-way street that leads directly to them. You know what I mean? And that really bums me out. It's like, listen, freedom of speech is freedom of speech, man. You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Like, you got to give these people the right to stand up and fight for themselves. And like you said, like, if I say, I'm never going to say a political statement because I'm not I've been following politics since I was 16, but my politics are my business. I don't need to go tell everybody what I think. You know why? I'm not going to change anyone's mind. Nobody. No one is going to listen to me and go, you know what? I'm changing everything I believe because this is what he believes. And if you do, don't do that. Like, do the research yourself. Like, that's why, like, listen, me and Eddie Vedder are two opposite sides of some of the things that we believe. But you know what? I listen to him and go, I can see where he's coming from. I don't agree with him, but now I'm going to go listen to Even Flow. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care what people think. It's the fact that we live in this stage where everyone thinks their opinion matters so much. They can comment on your Instagram post and go, I'm unfollowing you. Okay. Bye.
I love the people on Twitter that are telling Tom Morello, I'm never listening to your music before because he's making political statements. And it's like, have you never heard a Rage Against the Machine song and listened to the lyrics, you stupid idiot?
Someone the other day said, I saw a tweet where someone goes, I used to be a really big fan of your music till you started getting political. And then someone commented under it and said, what machine did you think he was raging against? The dishwasher? I was like, yeah, it's, I mean,
whoever
like,
that was won the internet that day. That is unbelievable.
It was such a great thing. And, like I said, like, I think the world needs that band right now. You know what I mean? I think I'm all for people who stand up for what they believe in. You know what I mean? I don't care if I believe in it or not. stand up for what you believe in. That's what America is. You know what I mean? Like that, truly, that's what America is. So, we're all here. We're all Americans. So let's be Americans, and let's all live together. But, it sucks that they were going to come back this year. And this is like the year the world needed them. You know what I mean? Like the world needed that band this year. And it's like, now they're not going to be able to come back. But, listen, we'll see where we are when everyone can come back and do their thing. And, I wish the best for everybody. I just want I want everything to be, where people feel like they have their own rights and people feel equal to each other. And, that's kind of where I'm, there's only one race, and that's, mankind to me. That's always my philosophy, as the great Garth Brooks once said.
Well, it's one of those things that, the rock community has always been, I think I talked to Corey about this too, that we've always been the land of misfit toys. We've always been the outcast that found community together. And the music was what we all had in common. It didn't matter if you had anything else in common, as long as we all loved the music. I mean, that's the whole point of this podcast, is for me to have a place to bring all of these people from different walks of life and different ways of thinking, but that we all love the music so much. So we all have a place at the table. And the virus has made it so that we can't go to, our church, that we can't go to our meeting house, that we can't all get together and enjoy the thing that has woven our fabric together. And we need it now more than ever.
Yeah, it's such a strange time, like I said, like it's, I think about people who suffer from depression and need their friends around, and the mental, I've never, I have anxiety, and it's very new to me, but I think about all these people who have these things who, need a support system, man. And I definitely, I pray for them, and I think about them, and in these times, for me, like, I'm an ISO, right? Like I enjoy my friends and I enjoy my family, but like I'm just as fine with having time to myself. You know what I mean? Like I really enjoy that. I really enjoy kind of having like this point where I can be by myself and be at home. And it's been really nice to be home and not have to be around people who, I don't know, are taxing. You know what I mean? Like I try to not surround myself with those people anyway, but sometimes when you go out in your hometown, like people come up to you and it's all these things, and it's like, but it's like,
are you too good to talk to me now?
No. You know what I mean? Like people, like people out, like people I don't know. You know what I mean? Like people,
right.
I'm not talking about fans either. I'm talking about like strangers at restaurants and, going out and doing that kind of thing. Like it's been nice to kind of, this social distance has been nice. I definitely miss fans. I don't know when meet and greets are ever going to be normal again, because I certainly miss that part. I miss interacting with our people, and I really appreciate it. And it's so that's the one that I miss fans. That's something I miss, and but like I said, I'm certainly enjoying being home. It's something that I'm not complaining about right now.
I'm used to being the essential employee that was in that studio no matter what. Blizzards, bombings. It didn't matter what was going on. It was that we were always expected to be in the studio to be at work. And having the last few months where I'm not an essential employee and being locked in the house, and it's been very strange. And now that I got MCHQ, that's what I call my studio. Now that I got MCHQ all hooked up and the podcast is up, and I'm kind of back to work in a new way and started my company, and I'm getting back in touch with people like you, that I'm like, okay, this is making me feel normal again, is that I've gone back to doing what it is that I do and what it is that I love. I'm just doing it differently.
Yeah, I think it's just about a change in kind of what we're doing and how we're doing it right now. You know what I mean? I think that, listen, everything's going to get back to normal eventually. We had this happen, and it happened 100 years ago, and everything got back to normal. I think it will get back to normal, but I think, for right now, we gotta. It's also a thing of like, listen, who do you listen to? Because the people who are supposed to be the world leaders in this keep walking back statements. It's insane, man. It's like, all right, listen, don't touch any surfaces. It spreads on surfaces. Okay, about that. It doesn't spread on surfaces nearly as easy as we thought it did. Okay. People with asymptomatics can give it to everybody else. Okay, just kidding. We were, part of me just wishes the CDC and the WHO would have come out and been like, listen, we know nothing about this other than it's killing people. It's a little worse than the flu. Stay at home unless you have to get out, and wash your hands. Like, that should have been like the first statement, right? Instead of like, oh my God, we're all gonna die. Everyone's dying. So just get ready because we're all gonna die. Because that's kind of like what it felt like, right? And it's like, now all these statements are coming out. The CDC's like, the first statement's like, listen, it spreads on surfaces and don't touch your mouth or your eyes. And now they're like, okay, it doesn't really spread on surfaces. It's like, guys, just come out the first time and be like, listen, we don't know anything. This thing is deadly. It's killing people. Stay at home.
And what's got to suck? It's got to suck to be a scientist in the age of Twitter, because science is hundreds of years. Exactly. Science is hundreds of years of evidence-based evolution and thought and proving and then disproving what you thought was fact. I mean, that's the whole point of science, is that you're constantly making new discoveries, constantly learning new things, and science right now, you're not allowed to go, okay, well, this was the theory and now it's been proven after months and months and months of research. When you have a virus that shows up last year, and now, and it's around the world, and scientists are working on it, and it's like every other day they're coming out with something that's changed, and we're all like, assholes. Meanwhile, they're like sitting there in these labs with these microscopes and doing all these experiments, and we're sitting at home Netflixing Tiger King and calling them idiots.
Well, some dude named Derek, who's 43 and lives in his mom's basement, is like, you don't know what you're talking about. Right. Thanks, Twitter.
Exactly.
I mean? So
like, there's a certain amount of us that we kind of need to check ourselves too, because I'm definitely not an epidemiologist or whatever the hell they're called.
I agree, but it would to me, it would just been easier to be like, listen, we know nothing about this yet.
Right.
We'll get back to you. For now, wash your hands. Don't go out. We're gonna shut some shit down. Like, instead of being like, okay, it spreads on this. Okay, just kidding. You know what I mean? Because then, like you said, you got egg on your face, right? Because it's like, you're a scientist and you're like, oh, what happened? I thought you were the big smart scientist. And now you're saying it doesn't do this. It's like, yeah, thanks, man. Go back to Call of Duty. I've been in this basement lab for 5 months.
Dude, I would give anything for Dr. Fauci to do a press conference and be like, all right, look, we don't know shit, but we're working on it.
That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted from the beginning. Be like, listen, hey, man, we don't know shit about anything. We're gonna figure this out together.
Keep your hands to yourself.
Don't touch your eyes.
Yeah.
We're shutting down basketball. You know what I mean? Which sucks for me.
I know it does. It sucks in Boston to not have any sports, to lose Tom Brady, to have the marathon get canceled. Like, this city, it's like I don't even recognize it anymore right now. We're so angry and we can't even go drink together to get over it all.
Yeah, no, that's a Boston tragedy. It sounds like you lose Tom Brady and you can't even go out to the pub.
Yeah.
And drink about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like torture.
So I've got a Liam told me how to do another interview.
Yeah, no,
I have to tell you this. So I've been like, so my son Oliver loves to watch fishing videos right before bed. We only watch fishing. So my son Avery, he's 2, is obsessed with pizza, right? So we've been watching before he goes to bed, he only wants to watch Barstool pizza reviews.
Oh my God.
He's 2 years old, right? So as you maybe, I think I've told you this before, my favorite pizza in the entire world is Frank Pepe's. Favorite pizza ever.
It's a lot of people's favorite pizza. It's really good pizza.
New Haven, Connecticut. So here's the deal. So I, being the pizza lover that I am, since I knew we were all going to be stuck in the house for a long time, I said, listen, I need to get some Pepe's here. Well, Pepe's doesn't deliver. They don't ship pizzas. They don't freeze pizzas. You get it, you walk, it's very New England, right? You walk in and get it, you piss off.
Right.
We're not sending you a pizza to Tennessee. So I had our buddy, Steve, Toe, basically go there, ask them if they would cook me 8 pizzas, and they froze them and they sent them to me.
Shut
I have
up.
a piece of New England. I have a piece of New England in my freezer right now. It's the best thing ever. By the way, even frozen after they cook them and freeze them and they send it to you, the best frozen pizza you've ever had in your entire life.
You are totally diming out Frank Pepe's right now because they're like, the rest of us are going to be like, oh, you'll do it for Zach Myers, but not for us? That's fucked up, Frank Pepe's. I want frozen pizza too.
Listen, it is. I hope that Frank Pepe's sponsors me for the rest of my life because of this, because it is my favorite pizza of all time, and I love it. And it's like, it is so good, man. Like they sent it, and it's the best. It tastes so good, even frozen. Like you warm it up, and it's just like you just had it. It's so good. So I just wanted to let you know that I'm supporting New England while I'm at home, stuck at home. So just you guys know that about me.
Well, I love the fact that you got a little New England down there in Tennessee. It makes me happy that you love something from New England so much. More than me. It's okay.
Just honestly, it's just you, Legal Seafood, and Frank Pepe's. That's really it.
Well,
I could live without any of your sports team.
I know you could. We'll debate about. See, we can't even debate sports right now because nobody's doing anything. We'll debate that next time.
I know.
Thank you so much.
I'm more of a fan of the Celtics every year. So.
Well, I mean, they're the Celtics, you know.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much for taking so much time. I appreciate you guys being so supportive of my.
Thanks for having me second. I appreciate it.
You're in good company with Corey. Come on now.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
You guys have always been amazing with me, and starting this new venture and trying to hold together the New England rock scene and, you know, kind of rebuild after the loss of my beloved WAF has been interesting over the last 4 months, especially, you know, during a global pandemic and just a few other things that have been going on. And to finally get the podcast up and running and for you guys to all be so supportive means the world. So thank you.
Well, anything you ever need from us, you know, we're here for you.
I know. And I love you guys for that. And right back at you. I can't wait to hear the new Smith & Myers record. Congratulations on everything with Atlas Falls and all of the money that you guys have raised for it. Brent and I talked a lot about it, and I just, you know, I just think it's fantastic, and you guys are always there to step up. So go and do your dad time. Thank you so much.
I'm doing dad stuff now. I just got one out of bed.
Well, don't make mashed potatoes.
11 a.m. Just out of bed.
Must
the
be
best
nice.
sleeping babies of all time.
Must be nice.
Hi. There he is. Okay. Thank you. I miss you.
I miss you too, honey. We'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
All right. There you go. Episode number 2 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. Huge thanks to Corey Taylor from Slipknot and Stone Sour, and also Zach Myers from Shinedown and Smith & Myers. And I just love those guys so much, and I'm so grateful that they wanted to be part of the podcast. Don't forget, in the description of this podcast and every episode, there is also a corresponding playlist. So if you heard us talking about some music and you were like, what the hell are they talking about? I set up a playlist for you right on Spotify, and the link is in the description of this podcast. Want to thank my friends at Image Custom Designs at imagecustomdesigns.com, and also RPM Dynamics at rpmdynamics.com for sponsoring this episode of the podcast. And if you're looking for me online, you can find me on Twitter at Mistress Carrie and on Instagram and Facebook at Mistress Carrie WAF. And don't forget, every Tuesday night at 8:30 Boston time, grab a cocktail and meet me in the War Room for a drink. That's live on my Facebook page, and the videos are put up on my YouTube channel after the fact, youtube.com/C/Mistress Carrie.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.